are 10 things Fortnite pros do that you don't, and some of these might surprise you. Most pros stack 2 or even 3 monitors to keep Discord, livestream chat and other apps open while gaming, but for a select few, a single monitor setup is actually the preferred choice, and Peterbot is a prime example. Instead of using multiple screens, he sticks to just one monitor, no matter which team house he's at, and the reason why is very simple: no distractions. Oh, and it basically mimics the environment you'd find at a LAN event. This is super important because it keeps his eyes on just the game and nothing else, which is just as important as having a comfortable chair. Flashy gaming chairs with those bucket seats are becoming a thing of the past. Instead, more and more pros are switching to ergonomic office chairs that are not only more comfortable, but are surprisingly cheaper too. Even the best player in the world right now, who's earned a ridiculous amount of money, he chooses to use one of the cheapest office chairs you can buy. Meanwhile, others like Mongrel and Bugger have invested in higher end office chairs like the Herman Miller ones, and it makes complete sense because when they are grinding for many hours, you do really need something that's comfortable. So choosing an office chair that focuses purely on ergonomics and posture support, that in my opinion is always going to be way more comfortable than a bucket seat design, which has been somewhat gamified for marketing. You'll also find that even the most popular office chair brands like Herman Miller have started partnering up with gaming brands like Logitech, as they themselves have realized that gamers are going towards these office chairs over the typical gaming chair. Sitting comfortably isn't just about the chair though, your hands and wrist need proper support too, and that's where a wrist rest comes in. A lot of pros take wrist support seriously, and Peterbot, one of the best players ever, is one of them. At his home setup, you can see that he uses the wrist rest that comes with his SteelSeries Apex Pro keyboard. Even when he's not at home, say if he's at a LAN event, you'll also find him using the exact same wrist rest there. Even if he's not able to get a wrist rest, like he doesn't have his usual setup, you'll find him improvising by using his iPhone as a wrist rest. And as you can see, this genius move actually does a pretty good job. But if you've not yet tried a wrist rest, it's something you have to try because it literally will change the way you play. For myself, it massively reduced any sort of fatigue, and now it's just something I can't play without. I'll leave a link in the description below where you can find a wrist rest for yourselves. I know Wooten offer different sizes to match your keyboard, may that be a 10k less or a 60% one. So now that you know how much wrist support matters, the keyboard itself actually plays a huge role in comfort and performance. You'll notice that pro players position their keyboard at an angle or a tilt, not only to create more space for horizontal mouse movements, but to also allow their entire arm to rest on the desk for stability. Without having that keyboard tilt, their elbow may be hanging off the desk, which isn't ideal at all, as this can negatively impact control and comfort. That's why you'll notice that a lot of pros out there use non-full size keyboards. They're either using a 10 key less or 60% layout. If somehow you've never heard of these layouts before, they essentially remove unnecessary keys. So for 10 key less, the number pad on the far right will be removed, and then for the 60% you'll find the function keys being removed, and this makes both keyboards a lot more compact, which can benefit the player massively as it allows you for better hand positioning and more mouse movement space. It's also great for pros out there that use extreme tilts, where they'll have their keyboard literally on a right angle or even sometimes upside down. Just like tilting your 60% keyboard, your grip style and aiming technique go hand in hand. Peterbot, for example, uses the 1-3-1 grip, where he places one finger on the left side, 3 on the top and 1 on the right. This allows him to maintain better control over the scroll wheel, which as many of you will know is crucial for fast wall resets in Fortnite. When you're building and editing, having this specific grip can help you out massively. I think a lot of you would agree that it's much better than the standard palm grip the majority of players use. At the same time though, the mouse grip that you do choose to use does come down to personal preference. However, when it comes to arm aiming, you'll find that the majority of players actually prefer this over wrist aiming. The reason why is because having your forearm on the desk instead of hovering it allows for more precise movement and better control over larger flicks. Also, the fact that a medium sensitivity is quite common amongst pro players, this makes arm aiming essentially the better choice because your arm movements will be way more consistent and you'll also not get that wrist fatigue that you would while wrist aiming. In order to maintain smooth mouse movements though, it's important that your forearm glides effortlessly without having any sort of friction. That's why you'll find some pro players out there using gaming sleeves. Seti is one pro out there who has been a massive fan of these for years and years. He's always been seen wearing one from the early days to even recently, and to be honest, you can understand why. Not only does it reduce friction massively, but it also prevents sweat interference. So say if you are gaming in a very hot room or in a hot climate country, wearing a gaming sleeve would probably benefit you a ton. However, they are personal preference. Like if you take Bugger for example, he used to wear one all the time, but I think these days he doesn't. So it's something worth trying if you haven't tried it before. One thing most of you should have already is a double XL or triple XL mouse pad. These things are essential as they provide enough space for smooth and consistent mouse movements without running out of room. Since most pros rely on that arm aiming technique, having larger surface areas prevents them from hitting edges of the mouse, interrupting their tracking or aiming. So in order to prevent that, it's important you have a very big mouse pad. Ideally, you want one that covers the entire desk. Those are very popular, but if you are limited by desk space, if you just have a large mouse pad at the very minimum, that should serve you well. Another thing that'll serve you well, but may sound very weird, is using a lint roller. You know those things that you normally roll on your clothes? Well, pro players have been seen taking these to LAN events, and no, they're not rolling it on their clothes there, they're actually rolling it on their mouse pad to pick up all that dust and other sort of debris you'll find on mouse pads. Not only that, if you live at home and you've got like dogs or pets, you may find the odd hair on your mouse pad. What a lot of people don't realize is that could actually interfere with your mouse's sensor. However, if you keep your mouse pad clean and now and then you just give it a lint roll, you will not have that problem, and that's why you see these pros taking lint rollers to LAN events. And for the last thing, you'll actually see pros taking gaming glasses to LAN events as well. Clix is one pro that's been using these since the World Cup back in 2019, and actually just recently got his own sponsorship with the exact company he used back then, that's Gunner Glasses. But these are starting to pop up more and more at LAN events when it comes to pros, and it all comes down to the health benefits that come with them. If you weren't aware, these glasses are designed to filter out something called blue light, which comes from your monitor, and it usually causes eye strain if you've been gaming for many hours. By wearing these and blocking it out, you can imagine how much it can actually reduce the eye strain. Some may see these gaming glasses as a gimmick, but for some pro players like Clix for example, they've been an essential part of his setup for many years. Overall, the setup optimizations that I've mentioned may seem very small, but they can significantly impact comfort